It's been a little while since we've seen the drivers in the Sim Championship Racing Series, but it's a new year, a new season, and new drivers for the SCRS Ferrari Challenge. We'll start off our 14-week season right here at Daytona International Speedway, a 3.4-mile high-banked roval designed for the fastest of cars. 3 15-minute races lie ahead for these drivers in turbocharged Ferrari 488 GT3 machinery. Welcome to Sim TV. My name, of course, is Kyle Heyer, joined by Finian D'Acuna tonight. Finian, it's been a little while since we've had SCRS on the network, and again, there are the first ever guys that reached out to have a stream, and over 1,000 subscribers now, 12 or 1,100 as of a couple days ago. So these guys have brought us a very long way. Tonight they embark on a new journey in 2020.
Yeah, indeed, a brand new season with these guys. Technically the 5th season that we've been broadcasting them for. So again, glad to be back as always. And yeah, not a whole lot changed really over the offseason as far as rules. We're still using the same 3-race format we had last season. Race 1 being set by qualifying as the drivers are out there on the track now. Race 2 being inverted. And then race 3 being the points you accumulate in race 1 and 2, ordering the field that way.
You can see the track down below, but let's take a look at our track map for tonight's event. 3.5 miles around here, Finian, 11 turns, but the big discussion, turn 1 and the bus stop. What makes those corners so tricky?
Yeah, it really is just trying to bring these cars from such a high rate of speed down towards such a sudden stop, and really not as much turn 1. Turn 1 you can have a little bit of leeway as far as braking. If you miss it, it's not the end of the world. Bus stop, if you miss it, it's pretty much the end of the world, because you either get a giant cut course penalty that ruins your run through 3 and 4, you make a mistake in the bus stop and end up in the tire wall. Then we've seen a lot of drivers over the course of between the Rolex 24 practice and whatnot, you always see a bunch of guys go off in the bus stop.
So the other discussion is that this is not the normal Daytona International Speedway, Finian. This is the bumpy one. This is the version that was laser scanned in 2007, so the pavement is worn out. It's very bumpy, and there's also a lot less curbing around here, so that's going to change how the drivers attack this racetrack tonight. Remember, if you go over 7 incident points, it's a drive-through penalty, so drivers have to keep it on course tonight.
And put that in perspective, I mean, the lap times these guys are running, they're going to have to do, I think, 7 or 8 laps. 8 laps, definitely. So that means, if you dip a wheel off on the exit of the bus stop, a lot of people love to do that. Just on the exit, clipping the grass, you're going to have to come down and serve pit road penalties. You have to make sure you keep these cars clean today. That's, again, not even including the fact if you end up getting car contact with another driver, that's 4 right there.
So, returning drivers in this series, Dan Garber in the 333. Think all the way back to the Audi Cup Series, way back in Sim TV history. Garber was one of the competitors there. He's also been in the SCRS Ferrari Challenge in the past, as has Robert Elder, Jeff Royan, Brian Sohn, Mickey, Christian Ost. There's a whole host of drivers that have been here before. Ray Huang, Shabelski. And there's a lot of new drivers here tonight as well. Paul Darling, which we've seen in Grid Life iRacers and DC Region SCCA competition, as well as Peter Vostrel. He's new. There's a lot of drivers in this field that have not raced with this group before, so it's going to be interesting to see how it all works out tonight.
And just kind of looking at the list, so it looks like Dan Garber, JD Snyder, also Peter Vostrel, and of course Brian Sohn. All of them, they formed a new 4-car team for Penguin RC Simulations. Of course, partner with the Ferrari Challenge since season 1. They've been a long-time sponsor, and Brian actually doing really well as of right now. Is currently 2nd on the board in qualifying.
Yeah, 2nd on the board in qualifying. Again, Brian Sohn, the owner of Penguin RC Simulation, which is offering season-end prizes to the drivers that are competing. So if you're watching this and going, hey, I want some new sim racing gear, well, you can do one of 2 things. You can join the SCRS Ferrari Challenge, and you can go race for it, or you can head over to Penguin RC website, which we have linked in the video description. If you're on Facebook, make sure you jump over to the YouTube broadcast for that. I think it's also linked in the post as well. But also note on top of Sohn's car, Finian, you'll notice a certain symbol. That is the iFlag logo, and the designer of the iFlag system that a lot of iRacers use to display flags on an LED indicator, the man that created that is Peter Vostrel. He's right here, number 404 Penguin RC car tonight. Good to have him here joining Ferrari Challenge this evening. Drew Lidke in the past has run in the AM category. Well, again, after a couple weeks, we're gonna split this field up into Pro and AM categories, Finian. So the first couple weeks, it's a free-for-all. You're trying to earn your place in Pro, or if you want to kind of sandbag a little bit and end up in the AM category, you could find yourself competing with drivers that aren't quite up at the front of the field. So this is gonna be an interesting dynamic the first couple of weeks to figure out who is better than who.
Yeah, and the categories we sort of do at the admin's discretion of what they feel is best for this series. So there's no really any prerequisites, although I'm sure you're going to take a whole bunch of factors into account, including how you did in the first 3 races of the season.
So on board here at Daytona International Speedway, riding with Drew Lidke up onto the back straightaway here. Note the speeds. Going to be well over 170 miles an hour, especially in the draft. Now the braking zone into the bus stop. We talked about the incident points. You go over 7, you have to serve a drive-through penalty. And with how tiny the curbs are in this particular version of the racetrack, you have to behave yourself here, Finian. It's a 15-minute race, but it's incredibly easy to get off tracks around here if you're not being careful.
Definitely is. We got a little under 3 minutes remaining in qualifying. These guys had 10 minutes to put a time down. It's Eric Mickey up at the top of the charts, currently in first. And again, nice to see him back in the series. And what a way to come back, already on pole for race number 1.
And I have to say, the fact that Andrew and Eric Mickey just went quicker than Paul Darling, that tells you something here, Finian. Paul Darling is exceptionally talented, especially in GT3 cars. Third on the board certainly isn't bad, but I would have expected him to come here and wipe the floor. So Andrew and Eric already in their Bombshell Motorsports cars at the top of the board, looking mighty quick tonight.
Yeah, those Bombshell guys doing really well. Speaking of which, also, where is Kurt Crum? He's down in 22nd. He hasn't put in a actual time yet. I think he's currently working on that at the moment.
Looks like it. And he's going to work his way down towards the bus stop and take a look at the track conditions right now. It's also kind of evening time here, Finian, so the sun is setting, and that means the track should be cooling down slightly. It's 73 in the air, 76 on the racetrack, so relatively grippy. It's only going to get better from here as Kurt Crum works through NASCAR 3 and 4 to finish out his lap. We have 26 drivers in here tonight, and only one driver is not out on course at the moment. That is Zachary Hefner, and as I say that, he has just jumped on track to put in his qualifying effort.
He's going to have to hurry. I don't know if he's
it's open qualifying, so he'll have a little bit.
No, he's just left the pits, so he might not have enough time.
143.812 for Kurt Crum is good enough for 4th place. A solid qualifying effort there. And again, remember, it is open qualifying, so you do have the opportunity to draft. And you see 15th place Dan Garber in the number 333 getting a draft off current pole sitter Andrew Mickey, who's got a 143.542 as we have a minute left in qualifying.
And how about that too? The Bombshell guys, obviously it's a fixed setup series, but they're running first, second, and fourth. Really solid pace out of them.
Extremely solid start. Robert Rattray, another new driver in this series. How about this dazzling paint scheme he's got on this car on the number 33? Another new driver, and I'm hoping there's people in the chat that can correct us on the name pronunciation here. John Stuplich in the number 76 car. Look at the spec map on that thing, how it shines in the light. NVIDIA on this race car. It's a good-looking scheme for sure.
And John also joining T. Galgi and Christian Ost, both those guys returning drivers from previous seasons, so he's going to be the 3rd car for Get Wreck Racing.
And 18th right now. We'll see if he can best it this time. 153, not going to do it. He'll get one more opportunity to improve on that lap time, and I got to say, these paint schemes look absolutely gorgeous.
And I'm actually surprised too, Christian Ost actually changed to a blue car for this season, and ditching his traditional red paint scheme.
And T. Galgi, look at the... what would you call that color? I wouldn't really call it magenta. It is kind of magenta. I don't know. It's a great looking color, though. I'll give him that. That's T. Galgi in the number 13. He's a little out wide. Checkered flag waves here in qualifying, but we're going to continue letting drivers complete the laps that they've started. And there, you mentioned Christian Ost. And these are probably some of the best looking cars in the field, I have to say. Zachary Hefner in the number 51. I'm not sure if he got through to the start-finish line here,
I don't think he did.
But throttling up, he'll at least get a practice lap around here.
Yeah, he's going to have to start all the way in the back, as well as Jonathan Rodriguez. Both those drivers failed to put down a time. Actually, although Jonathan Rodriguez, he might be able to, if this lap is official, he should be able to at least be 25th.
So another new driver we haven't talked about yet is Paul Van Loan in the number 113. There he goes around the outside of 9th place. Robert Rattray almost got into the fence there at the exit of the corner.
Yeah, that's actually both those drivers teammates with each other for this season for No Luck EM Sport.
Riding on board, we'll see the difference in speed in the draft. About 167, 168 was all we saw by yourself. How about we're going to climb over 170 easily before the braking zone for the bus stop. A little bit conservative here as we're braking behind another race car, but over the curbs and back on throttle. And that's probably an off track there. And again, in the race, got to watch out for those. Minute left in qualifying. The races tonight, plural, will be 3 events. Race 1, Race 2, and Race 3. All 15 minutes long, Finian. The start of Race 1 is determined by qualifying. The start of Race 2 is done by the finishing order of Race 1. And the start of Race 3 is the point average from Race 1 and Race 2. So, across the line for Van Loan and Rattray, they'll end up in 8th and 9th.
Yeah, look at the top three again, all the same team, and look how close they are. The top three is separated by 0.05 of a second.
That's pretty I don't know if you're looking at the right. Oh yeah, I guess you are. Oh, I'm showing 0.2 on the timing and scoring is reflecting that.
Yeah, so our timing and scoring is showing a different number.
Yeah, that's definitely not the case.
Interesting.
But either way, Bombshell Motorsports, all three drivers up towards the front. Paul Darling in 4th, and there's only a few drivers left on track. One of them, Brandon Blackford, in the number 013, and he's going to pull down pit road and end his effort as well.
Oh, it's like doing the weird like double minus thing.
Yeah, so there's something funky going on. But into pit lane they go. Time to go racing tonight for 3 15-minute events in the SCRS Ferrari Challenge. Thank you again for joining us here on SimTV. If you're brand new to the network, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified every time Ferrari Challenge goes live. It is a beautiful evening here in Daytona Beach, Florida, and it's finally time to get SCRS Ferrari Challenge back on the SimTV network. If you want to see more behind-the-scenes content, exclusive content, and merchandise discounts, make sure you hit the join button. Check out the 3 different levels you can support us at. Also, look at this field, Finian, over 25 drivers getting lined up for the start of this one.
Yeah, and again, also, we said it before, beautiful paint schemes on the grid for this season. And I'm sure a lot of people are excited for the series to return back on a SimTV after taking a hiatus. And coming back in very strong form, really looking forward to getting this season underway.
So, 15 minutes, Finian. What's the strategy? If you're not at the front, I mean, how aggressive are you in this first race? You're still getting used to everyone around you. Are you going to be super aggressive, or are you just going to kind of take this race to get used to everybody and then move forward in race 2?
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends really where you're starting. You can definitely see the first 4 or 5 rows of guys that are going to definitely try to go all at it, trying to get as many points as they can. I think for guys in the back, it might be a different story. Yes, they're going to try to move up because obviously points are on the line, but if they don't have to, remember, we do a full race full field invert. For all the drivers that finish at the end of the running of this race, and they'll end up starting at the front of the order. So there's a little bit of strategy to be had in that. We've seen some drivers, if they just haven't felt the pace, they'll kind of just lay off in race number 1 and wait to start in the front in race 2.
So let's roll through our starting lineup as the field peels off for 1 pace lap around Daytona Speedway. On the front row tonight, Kurt Crum in the number 7, his Ferrari 40 GT3 starting alongside, actually that's row number 2. The Mickeys are out front. This may or may not be. Oh, it is row 2. Row 3, go ahead.
Yeah, back in row number 3, got Brian Stoney. He's going to be starting in 5th place next to Robert Elder in the 117 in 6th.
Row number 4, Jeff Ryan in the 233, Paul Lone in the 113. That rounds out row 4. Row number 5, Finian.
Yeah, back in row number 5, starting in 9th place is going to be Robert Rattray in the 33. Next to him, Jonathan DeCousier in the 39. Will be starting, rounding out your top 10.
In row number 6 is going to be Peter Vostrol in the number 404. Christian Oss in his 157, making his return to the series, starting in 12th.
Back in position number 13 is going to be Teague Algie lining up in the 13 car. Next to him in the 12th car is going to be Brian Chabelski in 14th.
In row number 8, starting in 15th tonight, Dan Garber in the 333, right alongside Carter Kundinger in the number 02. That's 15th and 16th.
Moving on back to 17th place is going to be Drew Lidke in the 21, starting pretty far down the order. Further down than I would expect for him. Next one will be Liam Park in the 22.
Next row after will be John Stuplich in the number 76 and Ray Huang in the number 18, making his return to Ferrari Challenge. We'll let the rest of those scroll on the bottom of your screen as we only got a couple rows left, but up in the front, Finian, the Mickeys, the Bombshell Motorsport drivers, starting up in the front row. And then we have, of course, Kurt Crum in the number 7 car starting in 3rd, Paul Darling in 4th, and we mentioned Paul Darling competes in the Grid Life iRacer Series as well as the DC Region SCCA, and he's really, really good in GT3 machinery. I'd expect him to be a competitor tonight up towards the front, and I also think he might drag some more competitors into this series starting in the following weeks, depending on how tonight goes. So I think there's a lot more to be had here. If Darling has a good night, I think we might see some more Grid Life iRacers or DC Region drivers join in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I'd say, hey, if any of them have a free Thursday night, why not come and join this series? Because we've seen them put on some fantastic racing in the past and very competitive up towards the front. And I think, again, it's going to be more or less the same this season.
Onto the back straightaway. The next time they'll be up here, they'll be doing about 170 plus miles an hour. Then into the bus stop chicane on the back straightaway, the left, right, left combination with very tight track limits. And the reason why they tightened up the rules this season was to prevent all the argy-bargy they've had in seasons past, especially in the second and third races of the night. But with that, it also comes a higher responsibility to stay on course. 7X is might seem like a lot for 15 minutes, but if you cut the exit of that bus stop every single lap, you only have 1 or 2 to play with, so you got to be extra careful through there. Up onto the banking, draft, big discussion tonight. Can you stay in it? It's effective to about a second back, and it's going to be very effective to the point where you will be able to slingshot from the NASCAR banking to the tri-oval.
Yeah, and last time we were actually here before the series, they went the newer version of the Daytona, but the same thing still applies, that a lot of finishes came down to guys getting a run off of out of turn 3 and 4 and potentially making a pass at the end. So we could see it come down to that, especially considering how close the leaders were in qualifying.
The sun is setting at Daytona Speedway, but the dawn of a new season is upon us here for SCRS Ferrari Challenge. It's time to go racing up at the front of the field. It's Eric and Andrew Mickey and the Bombshell Motorsports cars waiting to bring us to the green flag. Pace car is going to peel off, and it's 15 minutes on the board tonight at Daytona Speedway. A new season, 14 races long. Here we go. Green flag flies, and we're racing in SCRS Ferrari Challenge from Daytona. Tiptoeing down through turn 1, Finian. Don't get into anybody. Don't make any mistakes. It's going to be calm, cool, and collected as we just kind of figure out who you're racing before you get up to speed.
Yeah, fantastic job by everyone. I didn't hear really any single collision through there as they head to the International Horseshoe for the first time. Ooh, someone got rear-ended there.
That was the 0-2 car with Carter Hundinger. He got a little bit of a push from, I believe, that was Stuplich in the 76. No, that was actually Drew Linkey in the 21 that got in the back of him. Up front, though, Andrew Mickey has gone to the lead. Kirk Crum, Eric Mickey, second and third, and Paul Darling still hangs on to fourth as they exit the West Horseshoe.
Yeah, and Eric Mickey's dropped back into third place. Darling's still sitting in fourth. He's got 3 teammates to navigate. I imagine those guys are going to try to keep this race to themselves.
Very clean start, only minimal contact towards the middle of the field, but now they climb onto the banking here in NASCAR, turn 1 and 2 towards the back straightaway. Flat flying around here, 150 miles an hour, riding on board with Andrew Mickey.
Looking off the tail right below the rear wing, there you see the draft that Kirk Crum is going to get. We'll see. Does he dare make a move into the bus stop the first time? Now he's going to sit in behind his teammate.
Slinging and sliding through the bus stop for the first time. This is a single file corner, there's no doubt about that. And very smooth start to this race. At the tail of the field, it's Brandon Blackford. Got kind of a slow start in the number 013, and does look like there's a little bit of right front damage on that car, so he's had an issue. Up in front, though, Kirk Crum all over the back of Andrew Mickey. Do you think these guys are going to fight it, or do you think they're just going to work together for now?
And they might work together for at least the first half of this race, let the field start to spread out, especially some of the competition they're facing behind them, and then they can finally start to race it out. There you see a pass Christian Nose trying to make it on Peter Vostrel for 11th spot.
And, oh no, there goes Vostrel around in turn 1, right back into traffic. Everyone's going to scatter. A couple more drivers getting rear-ended, but other than that, I think it was a relatively minor incident. Let's quickly jump back and see how this started. Did he just get it too deep on the brakes here?
He, I think, had some help on that orange car behind him.
The 150, the 13th place car, which was Teague Algie at the time. Nope, it was Carter Hundinger in the orange car. No, it was not. Who was that car?
Dan Garber?
Not Garber. Oh, Brian Shabelski is who that was. The number 12. So a little bit of contact puts Vostrel towards the tail of the field. A lot of work to do. But remember, you finish this race, you'll start at the front for race number 2. So all is not lost tonight.
Yeah, indeed. And that's kind of the beauty of the system, is that you've still got something to race for. Not necessarily in this particular race, but the next upcoming 2 races for this round.
Up front, no changes just yet. Andrew Mickey has led the opening lap. Kirk Crum all over the back of him. I think they're just going to stay line astern here. Eric Mickey in tow in third, and Paul Darling hanging out in fourth. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Darling is just gauging interest right now in how the car is driving and what he's going to be able to do to get by those front three. Because we know how good Paul Darling is. It's a fixed setup here. I think he's keeping something hidden for now.
You see all the leaders very close to one another. In fact, right behind them, Brian Stone and Robert Elder about to go at. Here goes Elder around the outside with the draft. And side by side on the front straightaway.
And oh, in front of them! No, the leader, Andrew Mickey.
Oh, and a big crash on in the tri-oval. Huge. Several cars going up
what
and
happened?
over.
Brian Stone tumbling over. What happened to the leaders? Andrew Mickey
Yeah,
tumbling.
Christian Ost also involved as well. We just lost 4
Eric
or 5
Mickey,
cars.
he's around in turn 1.
Oh no, and it's gone.
JD Snyder's out. Christian Ost is out. What happened?
It all went awry for Bombshell, losing 2 of their drivers in.
Did these two get together?
That's my only thing. I saw Mickey go right into the wall. Not sure if he had help or not.
This would be a huge problem.
Oh,
you know what? There was a little bit of lag going on there, I believe. And that's what. Oh man, I feel terrible for Brian Sohn. Came back across the track, cleared out a bunch of drivers. That's just a horrible situation. That took out a bunch of race cars. But that leaves Kurt Crum and Paul Darling out front, Finian.
Yeah, and look at the gap they have too. They have 2.8 seconds back to Jonathan DeCuja. You can see DeCuja there leading a trio of cars. So these two separating can pretty much fight amongst themselves, and Kurt's got really no help to try to deal with this. We see Ryan Huang, he's going around. This is the exit of the...
Ray Huang is how you pronounce that name. The 18 car going around at the exit of turn number 6. And he was on the brakes behind the 22 car, Liam Park, and I think he's just going to get back on throttle here and just loop it around. These cars do have traction control and ABS, but a lot of drivers like to run that pretty minimally, just because you get a little bit extra speed if you can spin those tires just a touch out of the corner. Now Darling sees the opportunity. Big draft on the front straightaway. He's probably going to swing to driver's right and take a look at the lead on the front straight.
Yeah, we'll see how hard these guys are going to fight at it. We still got a little under 10 minutes left to fight for this race. There you see Darling going out wide. Kurt Crum trying to outbrake him, and Darling going way wide in the corner. It's going to be Crum that takes it.
Yeah, he had to go out way wide just to avoid it. That's the good thing about turn 1 here, though, is that you do have a lot of space to run wide and just make sure that you don't have a coming together. And looks like all is kosher there. Lidkey in the 21. He's up to 9th place after starting in 17th, so a great climb forward for him. Dan Garber in behind 15th to 10th for the 333. And there's Eric Mickey. He just got turned around in turn 1 after all that calamity on the front straight, so he doesn't have any damage.
No, he's stuck all the way back here, Mitchell. He's got a lot of work to do to try to salvage something out of this race.
Oh, Jeff Arroyan, I think, has had an issue in the 233. This is in the West Horseshoe. I think he has gone around, and he might have had a bit of a contact with his teammate here in the braking zone. Oh, yeah.
Oh, and that's teammates getting together as well.
Trying to see what teammate that was. It was Arroyan and was that Robert Rattray? No? Who's the other teammate? I apologize. We're still getting used to everybody's names.
Yeah, I think DeCuja.
Oh, was it DeCuja?
Yeah.
Was. And runs right on board with the 39. Who just completely outbraked himself, and he went around. Oh, Paul Darling has had an issue here, Finian. The 155 has gone around in the bus stop.
Oh, that's really unfortunate. It was fighting with Kurt Crum. I'm wondering if maybe they had an incident together, or was it Darling by himself?
Really far back to have an issue without. Oh, he was just in too hot and looped around very loose on entry, unstable, and kept it out of the fence, but he's going to drop down to 13th place. So calamity in the early going here at Daytona. Lots of drivers having issues, and it looks like Jonathan DeCuja is going to hit pit lane. This is probably for a penalty here.
Yeah, I think he got a stop and go from collecting too many incidents. The 4X for making a collision. He's going to be one of the first drivers to have to serve that. And that's effectively going to give Kurt Crum the win in this race unless something happens to him. He's got a 4.5 second lead over Robert Rattray in the 33 second.
I'm going to go out on the limb and say it's Rattray with the pronunciation on the second part. I'm going to get corrected, but Rattray sounds like a rodent trap. So I'm going to go with the other one. Drew Lidkey leading this group for 6th. That's Stuplich in 7th, Dan Garber, then Shabelski, Eric Mickey, and Liam Park. This is a big gaggle for P6.
All these drivers nose to tail here. This is going to get interesting once they get to the banking here. Everyone's going to be getting drafts off of one another. It's going to lead to a lot of passes with some slipstream.
And the farther back you are, the more powerful that slipstream gets, because now you're getting kind of double the effect effectively. And you see Shabelski kind of popping out of line just to kind of gauge the draft. Now we're going to look to the inside. That's Dan Garber in front of him. And side by side for 8th place down the back straightaway. And Shabelski's going to have the spot. We'll see if Garber relinquishes it. Side by side for a moment, but Garber backs out.
Yeah, backed out really late into the corner, and now here comes Eric Mickey. He's going to have a chance to get 9th place from Garber, and there you see right in behind them Darling and Liam Park going at it for 11th.
And I also want to take note to Peter Vostrel in the number 404. At one point, he had dropped all the way to the tail of the field, and he's worked his way back up into 16th. So after a bit of a slip and slide at the start down in turn 1, he's collected himself and moved back forward. For third, Teague Alge and Carter Kundinger in the 0-2. Into turn 1, bit of a bobble on the brakes for the 13.
Yeah, that's the issue too. When you try to keep this car as much to the left as possible on the brakes, you have a chance of the car stepping out like that. But look at the run that Alge got back to keep away third. And now here comes Arroyan on the outside.
Arroyan tried to make it work. Now he's going to throttle up and have a run. We also just saw Paul Darling drop farther down the order. So he's had another issue. We'll go back and take you there in just a moment.
And here they come down to the West Horseshoe. Can Arroyan make a pass? No, Kundinger's going to defend, but goes a little bit wide into the corner.
Yeah, it's a corner that you can late apex, but there's no curb there like there is in the modern version of Daytona, so you have to be careful how much you late apex this. And Darling went around, did he go around on the front straightaway?
Yeah, I think this is getting into turn 1 here.
He's on the outside, and he's just going to lose it again. Really struggling. And again, this is because, again, we're using a fixed setup. That's something that Paul Darling is not used to, so he's really struggling to get a grasp on the handling of this race
wreck in
car.
the background.
J.D. Snyder in the 32.
Yeah, I think that was Huang that was involved as well.
Ray Huang in the number 18. Right on board from behind. I think Snyder's going to get all loose all by himself. And he's going to spin down the racetrack, and Huang just has nowhere to go. They tangle. And Jeff Arroyan has had an issue. We can't even get more than 20 seconds.
He's got damaged the rear window and the front.
Oh, that car's destroyed.
The hood is gone.
Oh, more. Liam Park right up the road in front of him.
Oh, boy. Going south for some of these drivers now.
For some of them, for a lot of them. And it was Arroyan that went around. I'm trying to see exactly how he got.
I think the same thing what happened to Paul Darling, maybe just threw it.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Just too loose on entry, and bam, into the fence. And then we also saw Liam Park.
And this is on the exit of the bus stop for Park.
He's probably going to get just too much inside curb. And it slips, and that's going to be a retirement almost certainly. And Arroyan now coming down pit lane, obviously to get that car fixed. And probably he's also got to serve a drive-through most likely at this point. Paul Darling is back out on track here, and still inside the top 15. He's got a lot of pace, just can't keep the car on the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately for him, if the race is going, well, he's going to be starting around midfield, so it's going to make a climb to the front race too a little bit easier for him. I'm sure he definitely would like to be the one that can potentially win race number 1 as Dan Garber.
He's listed as out, strangely enough.
I wonder if he might have just lost connection. He had an issue.
Could be. Usually you don't see the out tag applied so quickly. But yeah, looks like he just is gone. So that's all we can update you on Dan Garber's situation.
Yeah, as far as the situation for the lead, not much has changed. As Kurt Crum, he's expanded his lead to 5.3 seconds.
He's led 5 of the 7 laps that we've completed so far. Robert Rattray in second place in the number 33. He has not led any laps, but taking a look at the lap times, I don't think he's going to be able to catch Kurt Crum either. A 144.3 last time around to Kurt Crum's 143.7.
And he's come back to the line with 2 laps to go for Kurt Crum in this race.
Zar Korea in the number 14 has Zachary Hefner behind him, and Hefner, I believe, started all the way at the back. He started dead last in the 51, and he's just kept his nose clean, other than a couple dents on the right rear of that race car. And he's now up to 10th place, make it 9th. Actually, that might not be for position, is it?
There is.
Oh, it was. He just didn't complete it. I was looking at the graphic. So working P10 right now. This is a good start for Hefner. Ryan Blackford, Jason Miles. Miles working his way down into turn 1. He started in 25th tonight, has made his way up to 15th. So it seems like the key to success right now, Finian, is being cautious and careful, because that's the drivers that have stayed out of trouble are the ones that are closer to the front right now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate too, because I mean, these cars, especially into the West stop, are on such a nice edge. You know, getting into the brakes. You saw Darling make a mistake twice when trying to slow these things down for such a high rate of speed. We haven't really seen any incidents in the infield section. Really a few in the West Horseshoe, but nowhere else on the track. Mostly on the oval.
Peter Vostrel in the number 404. He's got Paul Darling in behind him. These two drivers, both very fast, have had their share of issues this evening. Vostrel with a spin down in turn 1 on the second or third lap. Then Darling a couple times had issues. But no issues for Kurt Crum. His bombshell teammates crashed out on the front straightaway of all places. And out of NASCAR Turn 4, with less than a minute remaining, that signals the white flag one more time around Daytona for race 1 for Kurt Crum in Bombshell Motorsports number 7.
Yeah, he's got a very comfortable lead. You can actually see the gap back to the 33 car.
And Carter Kundinger in the 0-2. It's that red car coming into the shot. Teague Alge, black and purple car behind. And Drew Lidke and John Stuplich. This is a battle for position down into turn 1. Stuplich on the outside.
Almost into the wall, trying to make a move to Drew Lidke. And Lidke, great recovery. He was talking.
Too wide. Going to get crossed over here. Stuplich going to throttle back down. Traction control vibrating the pedal on the 76. Now back up to speed towards the International Horseshoe.
Yeah, we're talking about Drew Lidke. He started way down the order. Great recovery for him up into 5th, but is not done yet. He's got a defense from Stuplich. And also here comes Eric Mickey. Great climb back for the 88 of Mickey. He has a chance to get it 7th and 6th.
And with his pace that he had in qualifying, I'd expect him to be really good in race 2 and 3 tonight. So Mickey has done a great job to recover from those incidents that he had, but a great battle for 5th place. First down to 4th is relatively kind of sorted out already, but 5th on back is really where the race is.
Yeah, here he comes looking at the inside of Stuplich. They're going to keep it tight with each other. A little bit tighter for Mickey on the exit, and he should be able to get the spot.
Pass completed. Eric Mickey up to 6th. By no means over. Still about a half a lap left to go, and Stuplich now has the draft. And immediately that's going to be effective here as he gets back up to speed.
Yeah, I'm sure Mickey's trying to get the draft up ahead from Leakey to try to prevent Stuplich from getting around.
Big lift. And he's going to try to set up for the exit of this bus stop and try to get a run here. But while all this is going on behind, for Kurt Crum, calamity for teammates, but he'll survive the battle. 3rd place to win in race number 1 of the night. Still 2 races to go, but a solid start for Kurt Crum. Robert Rattray, 4.3 back. He's going to come home in 2nd place in the number 33. Then 3rd place, Carter Kundinger and Teague Alge going to be drag race to the finish line. Who's going to get there first? Alge with the run on the outside to the checkers, and Alge's going to have it by a nose.
Fantastic job for him to get the spot there. We're talking about the drafting effective, and in that case it was.
Woo.
Also at the line, it looks like
Stuplich and Mickey. Mickey had it.
And maybe it was Mickey and
Lidke.
Lidke had it.
By 62 thousandths of a second. And another group came across the line mighty close as well. Here's a look at this finish. This is for about 8th place. As they came across the line. All right, one on top of the other. The race 1 tonight, Finian. A lot of issues, a lot of calamity, a lot of drama. Your takeaway from race 1 of the night?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it's pretty good stuff. Obviously, we saw a few mistakes from drivers, and again, when you have a car like this, it's kind of expected. But these guys kept it really clean on the first lap, and I think that was the most surprising thing. So, very, very big improvement over last year.
Yeah, it seemed like the first lap was really flawless, and then from there it just descended into chaos. So
that I think that definitely too, that wreck on the front straightaway was an oddity.
It certainly was. So with that, I'll let the results scroll across the top of your screen now as we show you the results one final time up there before we jump to session number 2 of the night. Now remember, we're going to set up the order based on the invert finishing order from race number 1. So Kurt Crum all the way at the back, and Dan Garber, as long as I don't know if he was technically scored as finishing, but it'll be Dan Garber or Paul Van Loan at the start or at the top of the grid for race number 2 of the night, which will happen here in just a few minutes.
That'll be it for now.
You think so?
Go on break, come back.
You want to? Okay, we can do it again. We'll do it 2 more times.
We kind of we don't really have a choice really in the matter.
In the meantime, make sure you visit the link in the video description for Penguin RC Simulation. Check out their products as well as Peter Vostrel's iFlag system. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Stay tight.
Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. That's, it's all I've ever known, racing.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
So many people live a life of what if. Go to school, go to college, get a 9-to-5. This is how we support our dreams, with a safety net. Because we're unsure about taking a leap of faith. Because we're afraid. As we grow, we cross things off our list of dreams. We cut them down, make them realistic. Having control of things is reassuring. But for some, the rush of being out of control is what gives them life. Some say racing cars is reckless. Maybe they're right. Out of bounds isn't just cheating, it's cheating death. Football fields made up in seconds. Decisions made in instants. For the people that climb behind the wheel of these cars, they're not driving it. They become part of it. It's an extension of the body. As a child, I looked up to these people, faces hidden by helmets. The less you saw of the driver, the more believable it became that they were, in fact, just part of the machine. It's easy to forget that inside the cockpit is someone just like us, but with the mindset that fear is a motivation, not a barrier. But the reality is, race car drivers are not like us. They never cross anything off their list of dreams. They just keep writing more. Daytona.
This is the finish of the Daytona 500. Side by side.
Le Mans. Indianapolis. Monaco. Places that used to be just places, now international symbols of victory. To those that enjoy the spectacle of racing, the 2 feet of concrete and steel cables are a wall between us and them, between sitting in the grandstands and standing in victory lane. These same walls are a stark, immovable reminder that racing drivers put their lives on the line for the sake of the thrill and entertainment. Despite the risk, despite the heartbreak,
Oh my gosh!
despite the cost.
Holy crap, we got a terrible wreck behind you.
There are some on the sidelines who are fascinated by the danger. They are fascinated by speed, fascinated by the undying desire to be just a little bit better. Their dreams erased by geography, finances, or the lack of a famous last name. There are some who once wished to be a race car driver, but aren't, because they didn't get the chance. And they thought they'd spend the rest of their lives watching their heroes on television, or from the other side of the fence. They thought it was impossible to climb into a race car, so they crossed it off their list. But it's not impossible. There is a ticket to the other side of the fence. For those who want it bad enough, this is your chance. Welcome back live to SimTV and SCRS Ferrari Challenge, round number 1, race 2. My name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Finney DeCuna again for the second time tonight. Finney, in race 1, dramatic after that lap 2 crash on the front straightaway.
Yeah, it really was, and you know, everything was going pretty swell until that happened. And then a lot of drivers, obviously not really due to coincidence, but just in general throughout the race, a lot of drivers ran into incidents of their own. So I think really what we're seeing is, I'm not necessarily this is just the old track that these guys are kind of struggling with reduced grip that they're having trouble with, but it's taking out some cars, and I think it's almost a kind of race of attrition.
Testing the patience early on, and we've seen in the past that drivers in 15-minute races, the patience really doesn't exist. You're already on the edge of control, trying to push yourself forward, and it doesn't help when you get rear-ended on the straightaway at 170 miles an hour. But the same thing is true when it comes to, you need to be aggressive. You only have 15 minutes. If you start in 20th place, you don't have time to dilly-dally around. You need to go out there and race hard, and you need to race hard every single lap. But there is a limit to how hard you should be able to race without getting yourself into trouble. So we saw that kind of meet ahead. Really laps 2 through 5 in race 1. The first lap was fantastic. The second lap, not so much. So hopefully things kind of calm down here a little bit in race number 2. Notable drivers, though, Carter Kundinger and the number 02, Finney. He started towards the tail of the field and had a really good run. Ended up inside the top 5. Yep,
and I guess really unfortunately for him in this scenario, he's going to have to go back to the end of the field after finishing really well in race number 1. But if he shows the same pace that he had in race number 1, I don't see why he couldn't be back up at the top of the order.
Jonathan DeCouger got into his teammate down in the West Horseshoe tonight, so trying to work things around there a little bit.
And we definitely know DeCouger has pace. He's definitely shown that in the past, so haven't seen that tonight. Also, Paul Darling with quite a few mistakes that put him at the back of the order.
And there was a lot of frustration, I think, between Paul Darling and the ABS in this car. Now, the thing about the ABS and traction control systems in iRacing is that they're based off of some real race car. No one knows what that real race car is because iRacing won't divulge that information. But iRacing developed that a long time ago. ABS and traction control has changed quite a bit. And also, I don't think that traction control system works very well with this tire model. So Paul Darling is feeling very unnatural things in that race car right now. He's struggling to get kind of the feel of the race car, especially because he spends a lot of his time in the new tire model cars. So this is like a complete rewrite of his memory bank every time he gets in this car.
Well, I mean, again, the thing is, he does definitely have the pace. It's a matter of if he can prevent himself from, catching into trouble with the ABS under heavy braking. That's really where he saw his best mistake. Most of his mistakes. Otherwise, again, really fast car.
We saw Ray Huang get caught up in a collision in the West Horseshoe. Now, Kurt Crum was the victor in race number 1, but what does that mean for race 2? Start at the back.
But we've seen Kurt time and time again. He's had probably some of the most experience in the field with this, field invert, and that's another thing too. We're talking about new drivers being here tonight. This is the first time they're going to experience that. A lot of drivers are used to the whole start at the front and then start at the back for the second race, but some guys are going to have to get used to it, and just kind of being really that patience, developing that patience for the second race.
In the past, race 1 has been the cleanest race of the night, so I'm not sure if that's going to be true. I think we might see race 3 tonight be the cleanest as everyone kind of works out, the race 1 start getting used to each other, than the race 2, the invert thing. I think race 3 will be a better showing of what these drivers will be capable of, but it's a long season, 14 rounds. This is only round 1 race. This is only one of the rounds, or one of the races as well, so no need to put a lot of pressure on yourself. I would do exactly what we saw Carter Kundinger do. Go out there and just learn. Figure out who's around you. Don't push the issue. Don't get yourself in a wreck. Just learn how the car drives and learn how the people around you are going to race you. Warm-up is complete here at Daytona International Speedway, and we'll get lined up for our second 15-minute race of the night. And this time it'll be the field inverted from the race 1 positions. Similar conditions, similar time of day here, so you're not having to adapt to different or varying track conditions, which is a plus. As we head down to the racetrack here, we'll roll through your starting lineup on the front row for this one. As soon as we get them on the grid, that would help. Nope, try it again. On the front row, Dan Garber in the number 333, Paul Van Loan in the 113. He'll be on the outside of that first row.
And right behind them, back in P3, is going to be Robert Elder in the 117. Next to him will be Brian Sohn in the 03. Saw Sohn get caught up in that wreck in the trial hole.
In behind them, Jeff Arroyo, and he got into trouble with his own teammate in the West Horseshoe. He'll start 5th. JD Snyder in 6th. A really good starting position after starting towards the tail of the field in race number 1.
Moving on back then in 7th place, we've got Liam Park in the 14 car. Next to him, Ray Huang in the 6 car.
In row number 5 tonight, Andrew Mickey in the 86 was on the front row for race 1. He's only starting about midfield for race 2. He'll be alongside Brennan Blackford in the 013.
Moving on back into 11th place, we've got Jonathan DeCouger, and DeCouger had his own issues in race number 1. Next to him in 12th, Christian Nost.
It's a little bit of a stack up here as everyone was getting rolling. I don't think anyone walked away with damage after that, but T. Algae almost rear-ended a couple of drivers as they were pulling away. But we see Rodriguez and Hefner 15th and 16th. That'll round out row number 8.
Well, the rest of that roll across the bottom of the screen, you see the Ferrari's got off pacing. Did you see any contact?
I don't think so. It was really close. I think they just got rolling. And you know, the other thing that really bothers me personally on these particular cars is a lot of the GT3 cars are fine, but the Ferrari 488 in particular, the clutch on this car absolutely sucks to drive.
Yeah, and the fix for that is you have to put the pit limiter on, that puts the car in launch control.
Well, yeah, you don't really want to launch when you're getting set on a pace lap, though. That's probably what we saw.
Yeah, and also it doesn't help too that you start on the banking, which is really not the best case scenario to start a car. So I think that also definitely plays into the role. But from the looks with no harm, no foul for the drivers.
Again, if you just joined us tonight, this is SCRS Ferrari Challenge. They run 3 15-minute races every week for 14 weeks. This is race 2 of the night. Field has been inverted from the race 1 running order. Thank you again to Penguin RC Simulation for sponsoring this year's events. Make sure you check out their products at the link in the video description. If you want to win some of those products, or at least major discounts to some of those products, you can join this series. And join us up next week for the continuation of the SCRS Ferrari Challenge. Dan Garber in the 333, a great opportunity starting on pole tonight. Who's going to be the dark horse in this one? Who's going to come up here and win this race that we're not expecting?
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking through the order, kind of scanning. I think I could see Andrew Mickey showed some really solid pace in qualifying and even in race 1 for that matter. He's going to be starting in 9th. Compared to most of our other front runners, you're going to be starting further down the order, so we could see him, if he can get through the traffic quick enough, jump to the lead and try to run away with this.
I'm keeping an eye on Jeff Roy in the 233. He's done a lot of GT3 driving lately in this simulator. Was running inside the top 5 when he ran into some issues in race number 1, so I think the 233 Jeff Royan is the one going to victory lane in race number 2 of the night. Now down into the bus stop. This was a trouble spot for a couple drivers, but it wasn't due to contact. It was due to just jumping on the brakes, and then when you release the brakes, we saw a driver sliding off to the left, Finian. So a treacherous braking zone. These cars definitely like to rotate on trail braking, so if you are in the brakes too long, you're going to find yourself off to the left.
Getting back onto the oldie here, these guys getting ready to stack up and go at it again. And you know, and you were saying too, as in the past, we see in race 2 probably be the messiest, so this will be interesting to see how these drivers are going to deal with it, especially the new face in the field. Paul Van Loon, I think he's going to be enjoying this format because obviously he's going to be starting in 2nd place alongside Dan Garber, leading the field back to green.
Beautiful paint schemes adorning the cars all the way down the order, especially like Arroyan, and I think that's Elder there as well with the GT Daytona colors on the windshield and wing. But race number 2, again, another 15-minute round. Garber, Van Loon, Elder, Sohn, Arroyan, your top 5. Time to go racing in race number 2 of the night. Pace car peels off here at Daytona, 3.5 miles. It'll be, again, another 8 or 9 laps to do battle here at the high banks. Green flag flies and racing for race 2 of SCRS Ferrari Challenge. Oh, I hear some contact towards the middle of the field. Cones going flying. Paul Darling right in the middle of that scrap, but I think we got away without turning anybody around.
Dan Garber trying to drive away from the rest of the field. Robert Elder and Paul Van Loon fighting it out for 2nd place, 3 wide in the International Horseshoe throughout the field.
Yeah, I think we got through there all clean and green. Still 2 wide in the middle of the pack, but Paul Darling has gotten clear for 10th place. He'll try to move his way back forward, side by side in front of him. That's DeCouger on the inside and JD Snyder on the outside into the braking zone for the West Horseshoe. A little bit of grass for the Snyder car, but he's going to get it tied up on the brakes and point it in the right direction to get back on throttle.
Yeah, and you So DeGuja get on by. Darling also trying to do the same here, as now Robert Elder's trying to chase down Dan Garber. Elder also going to be a sleeper here if he can try to get past Garber. We've seen him be pretty quick into the pass.
Peter Vostrel in the number 404. He's that kind of green, white, and silver car right in the middle of your screen. Had some trouble at the start of race 1, but got back up inside the top 15 by the end of it. Meanwhile, for the lead, side by side, it's Robert Elder to the inside of Dan Garber, now into the braking zone for the bus stop for the first time. Who's going to nose ahead for the left, right, right, left, and it's Elder with the lead.
Yeah, now Garber not done yet, though. He's got Paul Van Loan to deal with, as well as Jeffrey Arroyan. You're saying Arroyan had a chance of winning race number 2. He's in 4th now and right behind the leaders.
I'm really liking this team in general, with Elder leading and Arroyan in 4th, DeCouger in 8th. They've got a good spread throughout the field. For 2nd place, though, Garber under attack from Paul Van Loan on the outside through the tri-oval. Inches between them at 175 miles an hour, door to door at Daytona.
And side by side under the turn 1, who's going to give up first? Who's going to be braver on the brakes?
ABS chattering in the brake pedal right now. Cars way wide behind him. It's Andrew Mickey and Jonathan DeCouja that ran a touch wide, side by side again for 2nd place. Van Loan and Garber giving each other just enough room to race.
Van Loan with a better line on the inside into the corner. He's going to get the spot. Garber going to have to sit for 3rd, but not just yet, as now Arroyan going to stick his nose to try to take 3rd.
Brandon Blackford is spun around at the tail of the field. We're not going to take you there because we got too much going on towards the front. Now we'll take you there as Chevelsky and Rattray get together. John, I believe this is in the International Horseshoe.
Unfortunately, after Rattray doing so well.
Oh, is this off the bumper of one of the Mickey cars? Eric Mickey in the 88 into the braking zone. Ooh, the 33 might have moved over. I don't know. That's a tough one to call for me. Maybe a bit optimistic on the 88's point of view. Jeff Arroyan holding off 4th from Brian Sohn in the number 03. And Andrew Mickey, you mentioned him earlier tonight, Finian, started 9th, already 3 spots into 6th.
He's not done yet. He's got a run on Brian Sohn. He's going to have a look on the inside.
Oh, dicey.
Yep, he's going to get 1. Is he going to go for 2 here? No, he's going to back out of that. Still be side by side with Sohn.
Sohn might have to give this one up. They're going to run side by side through the bus stop, and now Sohn backs out of it. Paul Darling, Liam Park. Oh, I hear Traum up front. It's Elder. He's in the fence at the exit of the bus stop.
Oh, our race leader is in some trouble, and Sohn and his teammate DeCouja are going to get on by narrowly on the banking. Wow.
That was not a whole lot of room to play with. Robert Elder was leading this race. I'm going to guess he got too much curb right here on exit.
Yeah.
And slight damage with the outside wall, but that's concrete, so that's certainly going to hurt. Meanwhile, for 4th place, look at this battle. Mickey, Sohn, DeCouja all together.
And here we go. All 3 of these cars fighting. Again, deep on the brakes.
Whoa,
look at Mickey
big
chucking
slide
in there.
Sohn out wide. Mickey's out wide. Everybody's out wide in turn 1.
And DeCouja didn't go as wide. He's going to take both those spots and drive away.
Peter Vostrel, he was side by side through 1 with Ray Huang up the road.
Paul Darling now taking advantage of the mistake from Sohn and Mickey.
More contact. Christian O's going to go around off the bumper. Oh no, car's getting pile driven. That's Kurt Crum. Got up on his nose for a moment. Hundinger's around.
Whoa.
And Robert Rattray going to sneak on through. More drama in the middle of the field here. That was Ost on the outside. Did he turn down across the nose? Oh, I think Hundinger didn't turn down to the apex because he saw the other Get Wrecked racing car come up the inside.
Yeah, and that would have been...
it was the green car, which I believe is being driven tonight by, is that Stuplich?
Yeah.
And just way late on the brakes, and that left the 0-2 out a little bit wide, and that's how they got together. And then Kurt Crum tries to stop it. It was just a Get Wrecked sandwich for Kurt Crum in the middle. Paul Darling and Andrew Mickey side by side for 5th place now in the back straightaway. That's Brian Sohn in behind him.
So I'm going to have a look on Mickey. He's got the run, but not enough presence to get alongside.
Bad line for the bus stop. He'll have to line it up for the exit.
Yeah, so after all that went down, Paul Van Loan's going to be the driver that's leading this race. Then Dan Garber and Jeff Arroyan, your top 3.
Yeah, Van Loan off to a pretty good start. Haven't seen any drama from him tonight. Liam Park, Peter Vostrel battling for 8th place as they come across the line. 9 minutes and 40 seconds left in this race.
Vostrel, trying to make up for what happened to him in race number 1. Didn't really have the best of runs. Got spun around and put in the back of the field.
He rallied back for a top 15. Now trying to work his way inside the top 10. He's there now going for 8th. A little bit wide in turn 1. Going to try to cross over, but Park runs wide. Here comes J.D. Snyder to the inside. 3 wide for a moment, and Vostrel backs out.
Yeah, his teammate took really good advantage of that as his teammate almost hit the pit wall.
Wow. A big cut there. You got to be careful. You can get yourself a slowdown there if you cut that corner too much. There's Ray Huang in that red and black number 6 in behind. This is all a battle for about 8th place. Liam Park in the green car, the lead group.
And still no steal for these guys. They're not done yet. Here goes another move from Vostrel up the inside.
And he'll have that spot. Put himself into 8th. JD Snyder trying to sneak up the inside. Got right side tires on the grass, though, and lost all momentum. I think he might be serving a cut course for cutting that inside corner too much.
It could be. He's going to serve it quickly before he gets back on the oval. It's going to be even more.
And Ray Huang is able to get around Zachary Hefner in the 51. Going to chase each other down to the yellow line as they climb the banking in NASCAR Turn 1. Behind him, Kurt Crum. He got pile driven in the back, missing the rear glass, but no harm, no foul for the 7. He's got 12th place, and Snyder's going to dive back to the yellow line to get back by.
Let's see if the car is all right or not. If he's pulling out of the way.
It doesn't seem like it's hurting him a ton. He was able to keep some sort of pace on the straightaway.
Battle getting interesting for second place now. Arroyan all over the back of Dan Garvin. This is on the oval. Look at the run that he has.
Arroyan's going to swing to driver's right. Garber has second place, but not for long as they come through the tri-oval. 7 minutes and 55 seconds left, almost to halfway. And Arroyan at the line will be in second place, but can he clear the 333? Yes, he'll have the spot for turn 1.
And does Arroyan have enough pace to catch Paul Van Loan up ahead?
We'll take a look at this. Last lap by for Arroyan was a 1:43.894. It was his best lap, but up the road, Van Loan just ran his best lap of 1:43.842. They're so close, and Arroyan is just outside of draft range. If he can have a good infield section, this 233 might have one chance at the end of the race to get by those 113.
He's definitely close enough, especially too if Paul Van Loan makes a mistake or just a small error that'll put Arroyan in draft range, and it's better for him giving him the lead off right.
We haven't really seen him make a lot of mistakes. Robert Eldner has hit pit lane.
Ooh.
And I'm not sure if this is for a penalty or if he got himself some more damage, but either way, he's certainly out of the fight in this race. Van Loan continues to lead the way. He's led 3 laps of the 4 that we've completed. We're currently on lap number 5.
Expanded the gap by just a little bit, a few hundredths of a second back in behind Kurt Crum and Huang going at it for position out onto the oval. Looks like Kurt Crum's going to lead that battle, but here comes the draft.
JD Snyder, who's dropped a couple spots since the start of this race, was up in 6th, now back to 13th. Using the slipstream here, we'll see if he pops out behind Ray Huang or if he's going to just stay in line and ride here for now. Bit of a brake check. Everyone okay with where they are in line for now. Eric Mickey dive up the inside on Drew Lidke. He'll move himself back into 15th. And he recovered quite nicely in race 1, but this has not been a textbook race 2 for the 88. Got involved in an issue down in the International Horseshoe and has yet to really make up a lot of ground.
And he's trying his best, but yeah, it's tough to move through so much traffic like this. And now looking at Vostrel and Hefner going at it.
And Zachary Hefner has been really impressive so far tonight.
They didn't mention him a lot in the first race, but
Got himself out of trouble. That's all you need to do sometimes. And on the brakes again, Vostrel hangs on to the spot. Behind him, Eric Mickey and JD Snyder side by side. And just behind them, Stuplich and Lidke. And this is where Stuplich got himself into trouble last time. And the International Horseshoe is just so incredibly slow after coming off the front straightaway banking at 180 plus miles an hour. To get down to about 40 miles an hour, it's just agonizing to wait to get back on throttle.
yeah, then you come through the King here, heading down to the other horseshoe from 130 down to 40 yet again.
And get yourself turned in on the curb and back throttled up. There's T. Gallagher, teammate to the 76. Get wrecked racing cars in a crossover on the 13. Dive up the inside in turn 5. Not going to take it yet. Liam Park's got a whole host of race cars on.
Yeah, front of the screen you can see pretty much from 10th all the way back onto around 17th, 18th position. All in a train.
Ray Huang and Eric Mickey going at it. Eric's going to dive to the inside.
I don't think he's got enough of a run, though. He might be patient if he's going to back out by the time they get to the bus stop.
Yeah,
Whoa! It's a Kurt Crum around.
Crum gets just drilled from behind, and JD Snyder has also found himself off course. But Crum damaged. And after a race 1 win, the opposite's going to be true in race number 2 of the night. What happened to the number 7? He just got driven into. Hong just completely missed his braking point and drilled the 7 and ended up driving right through the bus stop.
Hong missed it by an inch. I think he was paying too much attention to Mickey. Yeah, just a little bit, and it means so much once you miss your braking point.
And then J.D. Snyder, what happened to him through all this? I think he was right behind this grouping. And he's going to see the car crash, and he's going to drop on the brakes to miss Eric Mickey, and he's going to spin right into the fence, and he ended up getting beached in there, and he had to reset back to the pits. So Snyder not having the night he wanted to have. Algie and Huang battling for 15th place now.
Scrap midfield for these drivers. Looks like a lot of the fuel head is kind of quieted down.
Quieted it?
I am amazed though, Dan Garber, he's done a fantastic job. I thought he would have dropped further down the order, but he's maintained a solid 3rd place.
Yeah, doesn't have the pace to stay with the drivers in 1st and 2nd, but he is hanging out quite well in 3rd. Speaking of the lead, Paul Van Loan has held it, and Arroyon is just losing a couple tenths a lap.
Yeah, he's kept his gap stable at around 1.2 seconds and hasn't really dropped or gotten bigger, and I think that's really all Van Loan really needs to do, because really once you start getting closer, then that draft's going to become a much bigger deal. Speaking of which, Darling's going to have a lot of it on the Cougar.
I got to say, I'm a little bit surprised that Paul Darling hasn't really been a bigger factor tonight. Again, expressing his concerns over the ABS in this car, and it said he hates this thing now. But I've seen him in GT3 cars. He's really fast. Something's not quite right with his 155. I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the championship, but tonight, not going to be his night.
It may be better, I think, at some of the sword tracks. I think really the only corners he's gotten caught off was the bus stop and turn 1 heaviest braking points on the track. So I think at other tracks it'd probably be less of an issue for Darling, but still running really well inside the top 5.
2 minutes and 24 seconds left in this race, and Van Loan continues to lead by 1.2 seconds. Next time by will be white flag for Paul Van Loan.
And these guys are really equal on pace. So they're running within hundredths of a second each lap. Flash of the headlights to Brian Stone.
And that's sometimes that's a friendly reminder that, hey, I'm on your bumper, and sometimes it's meant to annoy the driver in front of you. And you see the 86 getting all over the back of the 03, but look at the run that Sohn got out of the West Horseshoe. Andrew Mickey just looked like he was kind of anchor tied to him there for a moment. Liam Park, Drew Lidke, teammates that were side by side, and here comes Robert Rattray to split up that group.
Gonna make a move now and get around these guys.
So only one driver listed out of this one. That's Robert Elder. He's 3 laps down off course. J.D. Snyder is a lap down. Everyone else on the lead lap and still competing. Kurt Crum has hit pit lane to get a reset and is back out on course in 22nd place, but a very far cry from his race 1 victory.
Yeah, this pretty much is going to put him midfield for starting in race number 2 race 3 as we see Brian Sohn spawn out in the bus stop.
And Sohn going to drop immediately down to 10th place and might lose a couple more spots. 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, all going by, and going to stop and maybe reset that race car. And same thing we've been seeing, drivers getting unstable into the bus stop. And this is a crash that you see in the real world everywhere.
Yeah.
This is just cars being unstable, too loose on entry.
Yeah, because they're braking and also trying to turn at the same time, which is a recipe for disaster in a lot of places. But white flag in the air for Paul Van Loan. Still that gap actually expanded now to 1.5, 1.6 seconds.
Robert Rattray and Drew Lidke, this is side by side for 10th. Lidke on the grass. ABS doesn't work so good in the grass.
Well, the work for Lidke there is able to slow the car down enough and make the pass work. Right, here comes Rattray back on him, trying to make a pass down in the International Horseshoe.
Yeah, we'll see. Lidke's going to certainly go defensive here and try to prevent Rattray from doing the crossover. This is a difficult corner to pull that in because it's basically a 180-degree turn, so it's really difficult to get the car rotated all the way around to make that crossover work. So Rattray's going to have to try that again. Into the West Horseshoe now. Lidke again going defensive.
Rattray going out wide, trying to get the run off the corner, but not enough.
It's so hard to cross over at this particular racetrack.
He will try to, though, get a run on the banking. I think that's going to be his best bet. Speaking of a run, here comes Jonathan DeCouger on Dan Garber now. Fight for 3rd place.
DeCouger to the outside. Garber on the inside. Going to take a defensive line into the bus stop. No way that he can complete that pass. He'll have to back out and take a run to the checkers, and I think that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah, he turned and he panicked, I think, when he turned in and backed off a little bit. That ruined his run off the corner, but he's still going to get a run on Garber here.
What about Paul Darling?
Yeah.
He's behind this group. He might have an opportunity to run up here and grab a spot up front. No challengers for Paul Van Loon. He is going to win race number 2 of the night. Jeff Royan 1.7 seconds back, but the battle is for third to the checkered flag. Here they come across the line. Contact.
Oh.
They're going to slide across the line. Darling and Garber smashing
gonna
together.
get it. Wow.
And Garber up on his lid across the start-finish line.
That was a stock car finish there. 11 thousandths of a second between Garber and DeCouger.
Wild finish. How about for this? Liam Park and Stuplich across the line. And Teague Algie, Ray Huang, Jonathan Rodriguez all together. Then Ost, Blackford, and Shabelsky, they're coming across the line side by side as well.
Yeah, and actually, we need to take a look at the Garber, DeCouger, and Darlington. In fact, all 3 cars finished within 14 thousandths of a second of each other.
And that was certainly one heck of a finish. We got to take a look here at exactly how this transpired. Wow, we're going to get a better look at this, so hang tight. So here they come into the checkers again, and so there's the 155. He's going to take a hard left here.
And I'm surprised that Garber actually left this lane open. He opened the door for Darling to get in.
And you can't, as far as I know, you're allowed to use the apron. So the Garber forced the 155 down there, and Darling held his line as if he wasn't allowed to use the apron, but you certainly are. So there was still a little racetrack left.
Yeah, I think that's kind of more of a gentleman's thing more than anything else. I think Darling only really had used the apron when he had to prevent contact between him and Garber, but both those guys got sideways together, and Garber was trying to keep Darling at bay. Well, he managed to do it.
Wow. I'm trying to get a better...
Try putting it slower and then pausing it.
Yeah, we'll do that. But that was a phenomenal run to the checkers for what ended up being third. Now, I'm sure there might be a little bit of a discussion as to the RG Bargy coming to the line.
And you can see there for just a split second that DeCouger had it.
Yep. And actually, it ended up helping. Points the nose down towards the inside and gets him lower on the track, shorter way around. And that is the gap between third and fifth at the start-finish line. How about that? That's pretty spectacular stuff. All right, let's take a look at your race results here as the sun sets here at Daytona. Top of the standings as it scrolls on through is Paul Van Loon, Jeff Royan, Garber, DeCouger, Darling. There's 11th through 20th. Yeah, Carter Kundinger didn't have a very good race tonight.
No, he did not. Notice, too, only one lead change this entire race, and that was between Van Loon getting past Elder for the lead.
And Brian Sohn having a poor finish. A couple of the drivers, J.D. Snyder, Robert Elder, DNF for Elder in 24th place tonight. We'll let that scroll on through one more time, but look at the margin of victory between... Paul Darling not even scored on... Oh, where is he scored? At the end of the lead? Nope, they're down in 19th for some reason.
That's pretty odd.
Could be that he crossed the incident threshold, but I'm not sure exactly how that works at the end of a race, to be honest.
Yeah, we could see this be reverted post-race. The admins just decided.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll update you on that situation, but in the meantime, we're going to jump to break again for another 5 to 10 minutes. Stay put for the third and final race of the night, and stay put to hear from the drivers.
Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. That's, it's all I've ever known, racing.
What did you want to be when you grew up? So many people live a life of what if. Go to school, go to college, get a 9-to-5. This is how we support our dreams, with a safety net. Because we're unsure about taking a leap of faith. Because we're afraid. As we grow, we cross things off our list of dreams. We cut them down, make them realistic. Having control of things is reassuring. But for some, the rush of being out of control is what gives them life. Some say racing cars is reckless. Maybe they're right. Out of bounds isn't just cheating, it's cheating death. Football fields made up in seconds. Decisions made in instants. For the people that climb behind the wheel of these cars, they're not driving it. They become part of it. It's an extension of the body. As a child, I looked up to these people, faces hidden by helmets. The less you saw of the driver, the more believable it became that they were, in fact, just part of the machine. It's easy to forget that inside the cockpit is someone just like us, but with the mindset that fear is a motivation, not a barrier. But the reality is, race car drivers are not like us. They never cross anything off their list of dreams. They just keep writing more. Daytona.
Come to the line. This is the finish of the Daytona 500. Side by side.
Le Mans. Indianapolis. Monaco. Places that used to be just places, now international symbols of victory. To those that enjoy the spectacle of racing, the 2 feet of concrete and steel cables are a wall between us and them, between sitting in the grandstands and standing in victory lane. These same walls are a stark, immovable reminder that racing drivers put their lives on the line for the sake of the thrill and entertainment. Despite the risk, despite the heartbreak,
Oh my gosh!
despite the cost.
Holy crap, we got a terrible wreck behind you.
There are some on the sidelines who are fascinated by the danger. They are fascinated by speed, fascinated by the undying desire to be just a little bit better. Their dreams erased by geography, finances, or the lack of a famous last name. There are some who once wished to be a race car driver, but aren't, because they didn't get the chance. And they thought they'd spend the rest of their lives watching their heroes on television, or from the other side of the fence. They thought it was impossible to climb into a race car, so they crossed it off their list. But it's not impossible. There is a ticket to the other side of the fence. For those who want it bad enough, this is your chance.
And finally, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway and SCRS Ferrari Challenge, race number 3. There was a bit of a conundrum after race number 2, which necessitated a bit of a more detailed look at how the grid is set for race number 3, Finian. Dan Garber and Paul Darling, as they came across the line, exceeded that 7-incident limit, and they were placed at the end of the lead lap, which of course is not where they were supposed to be lined up for race 3, so the administrators took the time to line them up properly. Now, with that being said, it took a little extra time, but now we're finally ready to go racing for race number 3 after a couple more minutes of warm-up. What have we learned from race 1 and race 2 tonight?
Yeah, I think what we learned is that race 1 was a bit of an outlier as far as how much chaos went down. In fact, race 2 is a bit cleaner, dare I say, than race 1, which is what we usually haven't seen across the races we covered in this 3-race format. So, we were saying that race 3 might be the cleanest, and I would say it's a good bet at that. Although I still think we're in for some really good racing once we see the final grid up for this race, because we have no idea where these
Again,
guys are
it's done based on the accumulated points from race 1 and race 2. That's how race 3 grid is set. So it's a little bit less chaotic than race 2, because race 2 is the invert from race 1. So you have in general, your slower guys up front, your faster guys out back. Now it's a little bit more towards the fast guys out front, how it should be.
I'm sure one guy who isn't going to like the system, at least for this particular race, is Kurt Crum. After winning race number 1 and struggling in race 2, he's going to be pretty much starting smack dab midfield. Or maybe a little bit more skewed more towards the front with the points.
Danger zone is where he will be starting tonight.
He's going to have some work to do to get himself back to the front. Again, has the pace in that car, but the starting position not really going to do him a whole lot of favors.
So, outliers in this one here, Finian. I'm keeping my eye on Paul Darling because I said that he was going to struggle a little bit tonight as he gets used to this car, but he has started to creep up towards the front, especially towards the end of race number 2, was competing for really eventually what would have been 3rd spot. So this 155, he'll be starting towards the front-ish.
Yeah, I think definitely in the top 10.
That's going to be a really interesting car to watch, I think. I don't think anyone's been super consistent tonight.
No, that's why I really don't have a whole lot of a prediction as to who's going to be starting where in this race. A general idea, but as far as how they're actually going to line up, it's kind of up in the air to see T. Gallagher now, and that is Kundinger.
Yeah, and the 0-2. I love these Get Wrecked Racing paint schemes. The glow and the shine on them in the evening light is gorgeous to see. T. Gallagher going to run off track, get some dirt all over it. But
yeah, satin metallic finish is really
hey, by the way, that was my suggestion, was to go with the satiny metallic.
Oh, really?
These guys had, I think it was just normal paint. Because
okay.
the issue that they were having is when you go full metallic on the spec map, it ends up looking kind of muddy and washed out. So if you make it more of the what's the word I'm looking for? The satiny finish, as you mentioned, it gives you more color pop and also the same kind of shine. So I'm glad that they took that. But warm-up is complete. Let's head down to the racetrack again for race number 3 of the night. Again, set by the combined points from race 1 and race 2, so we have no idea how the grid is going to be formed, or at least who's going to be at the front. 24 drivers in this one for race 3 this evening. So, Robert Rattray in the number 33 is going to be the first one to make it down to the grid on the pole position for this one. T. Gallagher's up there in his car. Mickey, Zach Hefner in the 51. You mentioned how good he was having it. He came from the back 2 races in a row and had pretty solid races in both.
Yeah, and it looks like actually Paul Darling, I don't think they were able to adjust because Paul Darling and Dan Garber are going to be starting all in the back.
Didn't look like that adjustment ended up going through. Now, let's take a look at your starting lineup for the 3rd and final race of the night. We head to Watkins Glen International next week, a home track for SimTV. This is the final race here in Daytona Beach, Florida. On the front row for this race, Robert Rattray in the number 33, alongside Eric Mickey in the number 88 Ferrari 488 GT3.
Yeah, then moving on back to row number 2, we got T. Gallagher starting in 3rd, and next to him lining up in 4th will be Drew Lidke in the 21, rounding out row number 2.
In row number 3, starting on the inside, is going to be 5th place Zachary Hefner in the 51. And to his outside, race 1 winner Kurt Crum ran into all sorts of trouble in race 2, going to try to recover and get his 2nd victory of the night.
And next we're going to have in behind them, Jonathan DeGuge is going to be lining up in the 39 in 7th place. Next to him, Peter Vostrel, who made up quite a few spots in the 2nd race, will be starting up in 8th.
In 9th place, John Stuplich in the number 76. Paul Van Loan, in the 113 is going to start in 10th. He was our race 2 winner tonight.
And starting midfield along as well as Jeffrey Royan in 11th place. He's going to be lining up next to Andrew Mickey, who's been all up and down the grid throughout the 2-3 races tonight.
Carter Kundinger in the number 02, right alongside Brian Shavelski. He's been in the back of a couple cars tonight as everyone was kind of checking up for the initial start, so he'll roll off 14th tonight.
Right behind them in 15, Jonathan Rodriguez is going to be lining up at 27th and 15th. And then next to him in 16, Christian Nose, who's had a pretty poor night. Just not the luck for that 157.
Liam Park and Paul Darling sharing row number 9 in 17th and 18th, 14 on the inside, the 155 on the outside.
And moving on back in behind the Ray Huang in the 6th car, going to be lining up in 19th. And rounding out your top 20 is going to be Brandon Blackford in the 013, rounding out 20th.
Dan Garber came across the line, should have been about P3 last race. He'll start from 21st in race number 3. JD Snyder in the number 32 starts 22nd.
Rounding out your last row on the grid for tonight is going to be Brian Zone in the 03 and 23rd, and dead last, Robert Elder in the 117 and 24th.
Conditions a little bit cooler. It's the coolest they've been tonight. 67 in the air, 70 on the racetrack. Take a look at the track surface as well, Finian. It is very clean and green, not a speck of rubber on it. That's going to reduce the grip levels just a little bit.
Yeah, some of these guys, being on edge already, especially into the bus stop. When you take the grip they already had away, it's going to just be a little bit more chaotic. So these guys had a little bit of time to kind of warm themselves up to this new track before this race. So hopefully they got at least enough practice just to kind of get a feel for the condition of this particular version of the track.
If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do so to join us every single week for the next 14 weeks for SCRS Ferrari Challenge on Thursday nights. We've got racing 5 to 7 days a week, depending on what week you join us. Our schedule gets really full and busy, so if you want to watch a lot of sim racing action, make sure you hit that subscribe button to help us out just a little bit. Make sure you hit the like button as well if you enjoy our commentary and our broadcast. Rattray in command of this race. Eric Mickey, I love this 88 car. I think he's going to go to victory lane in this one. He had the pace in race 1, but didn't have the luck.
Yeah, just didn't have the luck. And really, though, that's what kind of made his night pretty poor by comparison. Just that spin into turn 1 that put him back down the order and caused him quite a bit of trouble. But here he is up into 2nd place and has an easy shot at taking the lead away, but I'm sure that 33 is going to put up a fight.
He's got wings on the side of the car. We'll see if he can take flight in the 3rd race of the evening. 15 minutes on the board for the final race of the night. As we exit NASCAR turn 4, the pace car going to make the final left-hand turn of the night. And it'll leave the racetrack open for racing one more time. Next week, we head to the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York for Watkins Glen International, the Blue Armco on the 3.4-mile Grand Prix circuit, the boot configuration next Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern. But for now, it's Daytona. Here we go. Robert Rattray in command, Eric Mickey on the outside. Green flag flies for the final time tonight, racing at Daytona Speedway. Too wide down through turn 1. Everyone gets through okay. And I see Peter Vostrel just got a little bit off course there for a moment, but everyone else keeps it going nice and straight. We've had immensely clean starts here tonight. Only a couple of contacts here and there. I see Liam Park running a little bit wide to prevent any contact. There's a car off the road, up the road. Who is that? That was off. That was John Stuplich. No, it was Roy in the 233 dragging the right side tires off the racetrack. Up front, though, Rattray out to a 1-second lead in the early going, a half lap down and a long way to go.
He's pulling out a pretty big gap to Eric Mickey, surprisingly. Let's see if Mickey can close that gap back up. And both field is single file, still seeing Paul Van Loon and Kundinger in the 02 side-by-side for 11th place.
There's Andrew Mickey in that white and blue car on the inside lane. That's Andrew Mickey. We talked about him in race 1. Had a lot of pace, only made it about a lap and a half before he ended up getting wrecked out on the front straightaway. Sun setting here at Daytona. Up for the front, Rattray is going to lead the field to the bus stop for the first time. Mickey second, Algie third, Hefner fourth, and Drew Lidke rounding out your top 5 to the bus stop for the first lap tonight.
A really good run for Hefner coming out of the bus stop. Going to have a run on T. Algie. Get back onto the oval. Here he goes already.
Outside here is a tricky place to make a pass, but he's going to get back in line for a slipstream just for a moment to get some more momentum built up. He's got Drew Lidke in behind. I don't know if he's going to have enough help here, so he'll tuck back in to grab the slipstream once more.
Yeah, it's probably when you ride up so close to someone on the exit of the bus stop, there's not a whole lot of room for you to get a draft upon the driver ahead of you. And he's struggle to make the pass, and now you can see that it's opened the door for Lidke to try to make a move, but can't get it done.
Algie's a little bit hot on the brakes. ABS vibrating the pedal through the floorboard. He's going to run a little bit wide. He'll lose one spot, maybe two, as Lidke charges on the outside.
Lidke going to go side by side. Kurt Crum right in behind the guys in case they make a mistake. Crum trying to throw it up the inside of Lidke is barely able to put his fender in there.
There was not a lot of room to race there, and he had all four tires on or below the curb. Fair game down there. You can cut that corner quite a bit, so he was able to take advantage of it, but wasn't able to complete the pass, so he'll have to try that again. Jonathan DeCouger in behind in that 39 car. Very clean start. No one's had any issues so far. And 12 and a half minutes left to go in this one. Aaron Mickey reeling in this leader, Finney. I don't think Rattray's lead is going to be around for very long.
Yeah, and I wasn't too surprised by this either. Remember, Eric Mickey qualified in second for race number one, just shy of his brother. And so one of the fastest cars on the track, and here he is in the mirror of Rattray. It's still 12 minutes left, so Mickey's got a lot of time to make this passable. I'm sure he's going to try to make quick work of it.
Yeah, and you got to see him dive really early on the brakes to build a run for corner exit. I'm not really sure if Mickey is going to take his time here or if he's going to just try to make this pass and stick with it now. We'll keep an eye on those guys. Andrew Mickey up to 11th place after starting in 12th, so his progress has been slow, but it has been forward progress for the 86.
Slow and steady. In this case, might not win the race, but it'll definitely get you a few spots.
Jonathan Rodriguez might have had a bit of a cut through the bus stop because I did see him slowing down. Here's a look from up above. Was a little hot in here. I think you're seeing him, a bit loose.
Good save, though.
And got it back on course, but did have to cut the apex of the final corner here. Meanwhile, for the lead up in front, Eric Mickey not able to get the lead, but had a look down into turn one behind him. That is the 7 of Kurt Crum has pulled away, but you were right, Algie and Lidke for 5th.
Yeah, Algie went wide again now to turn one, so he's been struggling meeting his braking point down to the corner. I just saw Andrew Mickey throw up the inside. That is of Jeffrey O'Brien.
Eric Mickey, now the brother, on the attack for the lead. Going to swing to driver's left a little bit wide. Going to try the crossover at the exit of the West Horseshoe, but Rattray does the same and actually gets a bit better of a run.
He's really over the 33 trying to get this pass done. He's trying to get past as quickly as possible. And look at this giant line of cars, old nose to tail.
Yeah, Stuplich leading this group, then Arroyan in second. That would be 10th place, and then Andrew Mickey 11th, Kundinger in 12th. Firing back up onto the banking, and Mickey going to use this opportunity.
He's going to be a little bit too far back this time by, but he can definitely use this corner as an opportunity to set up for a run. Going back to the front straightaway.
You see how much harder he gets on the brakes. He's not taking so smooth of a line through here. He's backing it up, and then look at the slip and slide by the 33, and Mickey sees and smells blood in the water. He's going to swing to driver's right here and take this lead away.
Here's a problem, though, that he's going to be taking the longer way around, so it's going to kind of ruin his run just a little bit, but he can try to get a little bit of a side draft off of the 33.
Yeah, dump some air on the rear wing of that 33 car. Going to be a dead heat as they exit NASCAR turn 4 to the line. Eric Mickey has not led a lap yet tonight. In race number 3 at the line. I think Rattray's still going to have it by a nose.
Still going to have it, but I think about 33 thousandths of a second.
Way late on the brakes is the 88. Too late. Going to pull it back in line. Going to drag race off of turn 1 through the kink.
He's going to try to make it side by side.
Well, behind him, trouble. Jonathan DeCouger's gone around. We're going to stay on the lead for now as Mickey dives up the inside of the International Horseshoe.
He's going to get the spot from Rattray, but yeah, as you're seeing back.
Garber's also around.
Yeah, this I think also in turn 1.
That might actually be what this is. But DeCouger has had a problem, and they have it coming together. This is, I think, with Peter Vostro?
Yeah.
So there's DeCouger coming into the corner. And, he was way late, swung out wide, and then Vostro, he just turned in, didn't see the 404 car coming. And then Dan Garber.
Garber, I guess, was a separate incident.
He
wow.
Just missed he was way far away from making the corner. He just got loose on the brakes and managed to swing back to the right. He saved, I believe that was, let's see who that was. Potentially Blackford, maybe? I think you're right, Blackford. So, sacrificed himself to save another. Rattray back on the bumper of Eric Mickey into the bus stop. Battle for the lead.
It's going to be tough to do for Rattray now, trying to get a run on Eric Mickey.
Andrew Mickey takes 7th place away from Peter Vostrel. Great move there, but I see another car creeping into the mix here, and that's Kurt Crum.
Crum trying to make up for what hasn't been the best, what wasn't the best race 2, after being hit in the back, not once but twice.
Again for the lead, side by side across the line. Rattray gonna lead this lap just by a nose. And down into turn 1 on the brakes. Who's gonna go later? Rattray does, but now Mickey has the preferred line. Gonna swing a little bit wide. Rattray crosses over, throttles back up. Gonna be a side-by-side fight? No, he'll tuck in line and stay in second for now.
And the ironic thing about that, too, is that now Mickey is still not led a lap as Rattray barely took it away from him. Here comes Kurt Crum, gonna chuck it up the inside of the International Horseshoe and get the spot.
Sneaky move there by the number
and
7.
Here comes Zachary Hefner. We have not talked about Hefner a lot at all. He's just been quietly running around 5th place.
A quiet night is a good night after what happened in race 1 and race 2.
And I think he's done being quiet here as he's in the top 4 easily within the battle for the lead and can win this.
Yeah, the points for him tonight are going to be enormous. If he can finish inside the top 5, this will be a great night for him, and I think he'll walk away with a smile on his face after this evening. Kurt Crum now putting pressure on his teammate in the lead. Eric Mickey out front, Crum in second. Let's jump a little bit deeper in the field. Race 2 winner, Paul Van Loon, in his number 113, now putting pressure on Stuplich in the number 76.
He's trying to get to the inside of Stuplich. Indeed, he does as they get back onto the banking, but almost clear of them.
Here comes Crum with a big run to the outside of his teammate. Drag race down the back. We'll see if Mickey fights him off or if he'll let him have it here. I don't think you should let him. There's only 6 minutes left in this race. Drag race into the bus stop. Who's going to get there first? And Mickey will. Crum will have to give up that opportunity for now.
Looks like the teammates are not a thing, at least for now, as they're fighting for the lead.
And very clean race. We've only had the one incident with Jonathan DeCouger, and he is out of the race. Everyone else is had no issues so far. These cars screaming at over 170 miles an hour through the tri-oval. 6 minutes left, almost two-thirds of the way through this race, and Crum back to the outside, swinging to driver's right.
Having a look into the outside, we've seen a lot of guys kind of struggle with this move, maybe overshooting. Crum actually going to be very cautious on his brakes, and Mickey's going to overshoot.
Here he comes. Crum to the inside, easily takes the position away. Mickey did not get the car woe down in time, and he'll have to give up that lead to his teammate. Behind him, Paul Van Loon. It was their issue there. He's a little wide on exit. That's going to bring Christian Oost to his rear bumper, as well as Paul Darling Oost is out in the grass.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to try to switch your momentum mid-corner. You got a line going. Oost went into the grass, and that's allowed Darling to get around the 13th.
Yeah, Darling right in the middle of this group, and we mentioned how good Darling is usually in GT3 cars tonight. Right in the middle of the pack. Having probably the time of his life right now, racing everybody, but probably not enjoying the car very much is what the consensus we had. Carter Kundinger in the 0-2 also. Race 1 had a pretty good race. Race 2, not so much. Race 3, right in the middle.
Really enjoying this, I guess, quote-unquote rookie class of drivers. A lot of the new names are all towards the front of the field.
Goldilocks night for Kundinger. Try the best, try the worst, and try the middle. And right now he's up the middle. 5 minutes left. Crum leads the way. Eric Mickey's not done yet.
He's not done yet. Look at the run that he has on Kurt Crum. Is he going to try to make a move? He's going to be a little bit late. No, he's going to sit in behind this time by.
Yeah, again, he's going to set himself up for the front straightaway because that's the best place to make a pass. But Crum gets through here so well and carries so much momentum, but it's not going to matter. The draft's going to pull that 88 right back up to the rear bumper.
And that's the unfortunate thing for Crum is that he's pretty much defenseless at this point. You see Mickey now starting to mount up a charge.
You can see the speed difference now, 4 or 5 miles an hour. And he's going to have a look to the driver's right of the 7. Here he comes. Can he get the car stopped this time is the question.
We already saw him making a mistake last time on a braking over shot. Now here he is on the outside lane.
Rattray
a little
up
bit
the
more
inside.
cautious. And that's allowed Rattray up to the inside for second place. Solid job.
Now they're not done fighting this. Now they are. Pass cleared. And Vostrol a little bit slow in turn 1. And he might have had some drama. 3 wide for a moment through the kink.
There's not a place you want to be 3 wide through that little S section.
Darling and Oost have had it coming together as well. Let's go back briefly and see what happened to Vostrol to get him in this position. Was on the inside of that is
solid
Stuplich.
contact between them.
And that just, no spin, just slowed them all up. Eric Mickey putting pressure back on Rattray. And Paul Darling to the inside of Vostrol. This is a great fight for about 10th place. Kundinger in the red car is 10th.
Oh! There's a violent hit between these guys. They're rubbing fenders now.
Darling going to cross over, take a run to the inside. Big slide. Traction control.
Oh, they're not
restraining
fans.
the power of that turbocharged engine.
They are not fans of each other right now, let me tell you that. They're racing really hard. And I mean, I guess, now's the time better than any because they're going to be coming down to 2 laps to go next time by.
About 7 miles left worth of racing. Does Darling take a look to the inside, or does he plan an attack on the front straightaway? Gonna jump on the binders. thread the needle through the bus stop. Oh, Ost is off to the inside as he has to slow back up, right back on the racing line in front of Vostrel and Darling. They're both going to swing the drivers right. That was very dramatic there for a moment. I thought we were going to get them all tangled.
Yeah, I think Darling was trying to keep Vostrel in behind Ost, but Vostrel said, nope, I'm going to go for the spot. So
I can't believe that Ost doesn't have a slowdown. But maybe he was able to give up enough time.
Yeah, here he is. Do we go 3 wide here?
I think Darling doesn't want to do that. Vostrel is certainly going to lose a bit of momentum here on this particular opportunity. Just up the road, there's a great battle going on for 5th. We're going to take you there if these guys make it through turn 1 without drama. Oh, Ost is going to slip and slide, and he'll stay off of Vostrel.
And he's struggling now. Yeah, he's struggling now. The tires are hot. They're only just going to get hotter, so he's hoping to cool down back to temp. So the tires stop spinning. But yeah, here's the battles we were looking at further up the field for 4th and 6th. Yeah, that's actually Andrew Mickey in 7th, Jeff Ruane in 8th. These two, then it's 5th and 6th, Algie and Lidkey, and jump farther up the road for 2nd. And they're going to have about a lap and a half left to get by Kurt Krum, and I'm not sure that either of these two drivers are better than Krum right now. So it's going to be kind of a tall task to do. Meanwhile, Stuplich and Kundinger side by side into turn number 5. Kundinger later on the brakes. And Stuplich tries to go back around the outside. Can't get the throttle down enough to do it, though. So Paul Van Loon going to exit with a little bit more speed. Stuplich drops in the line in front. Yeah, he's going to try to build up a run on Kundinger, and also Van Loon trying to build up a run on him. Here we go.
Down the back straightaway in the slipstream. No, I think we're going to be very content for now. Still a lap to go, so you're not going to show all your stuff. Whoa, late on the brakes. Kundinger's out wide. Stuplich is going to crash in the bus stop.
Yeah.
Robert Elder is also spun around. Oh, that's big damage.
Wow, that car is destroyed.
As the white flag waves for the leaders, how did the 117 get involved in a crash? Did he have contact with Brian Sohn?
Oh, this is going to hurt.
Oh, man. What was going on there? That was just he had no idea where he was putting the race car for a second.
I think he was expecting Sohn to be a little bit more right.
I don't know, but either way, that's on Elder for sure. But that was a big hit for the 117, and still getting that car pacing around here, very slow. Meanwhile, last lap, white flag in the air for the leaders. Krum, Rattray, Mickey, Hefner, and more, all in this lead pack.
I'm not entirely sure if I want to be in Krum's position right now, because he's going to have, I think, the lead pretty much for solidly until they get to the bus stop. And I'm sure if I'm Rattray, I'm waiting to just get that run out of the bus stop to get a good move on Krum in. For Mickey, though, it's going to be tough to pass 2 cars in a few corners.
Well, I'm going to hope that these two tangle on the bus stop. But Rattray might wait until after, with how narrow it is through there. Meanwhile, Kundinger and Paul Van Loon, they're having a good scrap for 9th place down into turn 5.
Darling trying to get himself inside the top 10. Has only got one more car to pass as he jumped in Rodriguez off the track in the West Horseshoe.
Had an issue down there. We'll jump back up to the lead, though, as they are about ready to thread their way through the bus stop for the final time. Krum in command. He won race 1, had trouble in race 2. Can he pull off the victory in race 3? There goes Rattray. And there he goes. And Eric Mickey is now going to have a great opportunity to draft back up to the rear. Oh, Kurt Krum's gone.
Yeah, I was going to say he was a little bit too far back with that, and I think definitely had a break, and there's the situation. There's a Krum going to be able to run away with it. Oh, for 2nd, here comes Hefner now.
Yeah, Hefner's going to have a run for 2nd to driver's right. Krum out in front. He's going to come home and pick up a 2nd checkered flag of the night. But for 2nd place, drag race back to the start-finish line. Who's going to get there first? Eric Mickey, Zachary Hefner, side by side. Mickey by a nose. Behind him, more side by side. 3 wide again.
Oh, there we go.
Tangling again. And Lidkey hard in the safer barrier at the start-finish line.
Man.
Chabelski and Sohn, they're side by side. Dead car on the inside lane. Chabelski comes across the line. He'll take 12th. And wow, what a finish to this one. Kind of speechless after that. That was quite the finish as Krum does some burnouts there. He'll be certainly very close to leading the standings.
Yeah, I was going to say with 2 race wins, I don't see why he wouldn't.
The poor race 2. I think some of that was more consistent. Zachary Hefner might be in a pretty good spot to be up there in the conversation as well.
Yeah.
But here's a look at your race results, Finney. A dramatic race. Kurt Krum out on top again.
Yeah, fantastic job by him, really setting the standard already in the first round of the season. Eric Mickey as well. I think this, again, a few mistakes that cost him a few spots, but has the pace to definitely be up there as well.
We're going to talk to Kurt Krum and a couple of the drivers here in just a minute, so stay tuned. Thank you again to Penguin RC Simulation. If you're looking for sim racing hardware, make sure you check out the link in the video description. If you want to win it, you can compete in this series. You better join it quick, though. The championship is already underway. We'll be back in just a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back live to SimTV and SCRS Ferrari Challenge. After the conclusion of race number 3, Paul Van Loon finds himself in 8th place. But Paul, you won race number 2 of the night. Got a little scrappy out there at times. Your thoughts and your reactions after 3 wild races here at Daytona?
Yeah, second race was decently easy there. I started second, got passed, but whoever passed me wiped out in the bus stop, so it made it easy enough to run away with it. Just luck of getting taken out in the first race, ending up on almost pole for the second race. So, but yeah, racing is a little scrappy out there. Guys are maybe making moves that they might not be able to pull off all the time. Maybe run a little bit closer than their net code and or their ping and their skill can handle. Right. Hopefully, it irons out over the season.
Daytona tonight, obviously this is the older version, so the track limits are a little bit harder to kind of stay in line with, especially through the bus stop. How concerned were you about the relatively low incident limit and that drive-through penalty?
I mean, it's really not that low. You got 7 incidents for a 15-minute race. It's actually quite a bit. I'm used to running in series that have 80 or higher corners per incident requirements, so it's not that bad. You just have to avoid contact. First race, I finished with only 4 incident points, and that's with the heavy contact from that incident on the tri-oval. So it wasn't too bad. It's actually pretty easy to manage.
Kept the fenders on it, won race 2, and had a top 10 in race number 3. Paul, thanks for talking to us. We'll see you next week at Watkins Glen. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Move on now to Zachary Hefner in the number 51 car. Zach, tonight you were very quietly inside the top 5 for most of the evening, race 1 through 3. You talked about your climb forward in race number 1. Talk to us about tonight's racing and trying to stay out of trouble while climbing forward.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to, well, when you miss qualifying and you have to start from the back. Everybody's really taking it easy through the first 2-3 laps because they don't want to get that 4X because you only got 7 to use. So it's pretty tough. It's a lot of kind of positioning your car in the right way on the track and avoiding the inevitable sometimes.
Next week, we head to Watkins Glen International, a similar track on speed and length, but very different in terms of how it drives. Is a little bit higher downforce. Your expectations going in there, do you think it's going to be a little bit messier, or do you think it'll be a little bit cleaner now that people have kind of knocked the rust off a bit?
I think it'll be kind of maybe a little better. Not much, but a little. It's a tight track, especially down into the chute. Past turn 1, turn 2, going up through there. Bus stop's always pretty messy. It's pretty much the same bus stop here at Daytona, so maybe even a little more speed sometimes going through there. So I'm hoping for it to be a little cleaner. I would hope.
All right, hey Zach, nice racing tonight. 3rd place in race number 3. We'll see you next week at Watkins Glen in upstate New York. Thanks for talking to us. Good luck.
See you there.
Moving on now to Eric Mickey was 2nd place tonight. Eric, you were 3rd heading into the bus stop, but of course we saw the slip and slide by the 2nd place car, but you came home P2, 3/10 back. What'd you need to go beat that number 7?
More incidents to work with. That new rule that we have really kind of bit me in that last race. I was doing pretty good on the first 2, but the last one I just kept missing my marks and had to drive very, very carefully for the last 3 or 4 laps. So if I could have been able to just drive without having to be cautious, as cautious, I think I would have been able to get back up there.
Next week we head to Watkins Glen, a pretty fast and flowing track in upstate New York. How do you think that's going to race next week with this group being kind of new together and having the troubles that we had, especially in race 1? Do you think it'll be a little bit better or a little bit worse when we head to Watkins Glen next week?
Well, you don't have the oval part keeping everybody closer together, so that might break everything up a little bit more and everyone kind of get into their own races a lot quicker. That's the hope, at least. But I think overall tonight went pretty okay. We have some stuff to look at and work out. But yeah, I think next week should probably go all right. But, incidents are always going to happen, and we'll just do our best to come up with ways to keep everything as clean as we possibly can.
All right, Eric Mickey, 2nd place tonight, the Bombshell Motorsports car. Eric, nice work. We'll see you next week at Watkins Glen.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Kurt Crum this evening. 2 wins, one in race 1, one in race 3, with a bit of a tragic race number 2 tonight, Kurt. But all around, a pretty good night for you. You should walk away up, if you're not the points leader, very close to it. Your thoughts after 3 wild races here at Daytona?
Yeah, they were pretty wild. The first race, just bump drifting went wrong. That was not cool. So I don't feel great about that win. Second race, I hit the wall on my own, which was terrible. It was all kind of downhill from there. But the third race, kind of pulled together and had some good racing up at the front, and it was a lot of fun.
Kurt, nice job tonight. 2 race wins. We'll look forward to seeing you at Watkins Glen next week. Good luck out there.
Thanks, sir. Have a good one.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for interviews tonight, Finian. 3 races this evening. Race 3 was really competitive and really good. I think we saw that's a more accurate example of what we're probably going to see throughout the season. But next week we head to the home track here for SimTV, Watkins Glen International. Going to be interesting, especially that first lap up through the S is going to be a little bit dicey.
Yeah, and again, I'm really just loving the field we got this year. Really competitive, and you can look throughout the order, a lot of new names mixed amongst the old guys that have been around here for quite a while. So we're looking at a pretty competitive year of, not really knowing who's going to be walking away with this championship, and I'm really looking forward to the next 13 rounds.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for us tonight here on SimTV. If you want to watch more of this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next at Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for the first race of the season for the Outsider Racing League Cup Cars from Daytona at 10 p.m. Eastern. Then on Sunday, we're off this week.
Yep.
Monday, we're back with first time with the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series Xfinity cars from Daytona. Tuesday, we got Speed 51, Fuel, and Grid Life, a triple header again. And then Wednesday, back to the DC region SCCA iRacing League. We'll be back here again on Thursday for the continuation of SCRS Ferrari Challenge from Watkins Glen International. Thank you again so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week.